Hi, I'm Andrew and welcome back to Plant Life Project. Well, I have really been enjoying my 75-gallon house-planted riparium this past year, and I've made several upgrades to it that I want to share with you today, as well as some future plans in the works. It's really coming together great. It's looking good. It's working well. So come on with me and let's take a look. Well, after a while, I started to not like the appearance of the cinder blocks, so I made some side panels from tongue and groove pine wood siding to cover the cinder block stand. I still have access to the underside for storage because the panels are attached with Velcro, so I can just have access under there like that, and then when I'm done, put it back in place. So that works out really well, and I think it's a big improvement from looking at cinder blocks. Deep substrate is another upgrade that I've made as well. Eventually I want to have live submerged plants in here, so that's why I put the deep substrate in. I haven't added the dirt just yet. I've just got the gravel, and it's about a year's worth of mulm just accumulated in the gravel, and so I just covered it with some special kitty cat litter, that the non-clumping kind. It's just basically clay is what it is, and then capped it with sand. And I just did that with the water and fish, still in there, so I didn't take everything down. Well, I have to say thanks to Jadron Aquatics for the tutorial video on making aquarium lids using polycarbonate panels. This is a great, cheap, and durable alternative to the glass lids. Well, my pothos now has something to grow on. These are plastic chains, and they're just ideal for these vines to grow on. The stems are not even attached to the chains. They're just wrapped around. And I've got multiple vines, and I've tried to wrap them in different directions. And the neon pothos on this left side is new. I did not have that when I made the first video. I added this, oh gosh, probably a month ago, and it's already putting on a lot of new growth. It's already making up past the light, and I do have a secondary light up there so that when the pothos gets this tall, it can still continue to grow. It can still, I may try to have a bar or something going horizontally so that pothos can grow that way on top of this lamp on the grow light. You can see the peace lily has 3 more flowers coming up. The first 3 that you see that are now turning green popped up and flowered 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so it's good to see these new ones coming up, and the leaves are just dark green and lush and healthy. I think this plant is really enjoying in the riparium. I'm not even sure that I've fertilized these plants in the past 6 months. They're just doing so great. Apparently there's enough nutrients in the water for them to feed on. But I'm sure at some point they're going to run low on nutrients in that bog filter, and I'll have to fertilize. The dwarf umbrella sedge has just exploded. It's now 3 feet tall, and I divided the root ball recently, but I cut it in half basically. But man, this thing just keeps on growing. Now, and as these fronds, I guess you'd call them, as these fronds grow out and lean over, I'll go in there and remove them. And just imagine all of the nitrates this plant alone is filtering from the water. I mean, it's just incredible. The variegated shell ginger is a riparium test subject, and I think it's going to pass. It's put on 2 new leaves and forming new roots over the past 3 weeks or so. So this leaf was new, and now it's forming this second new leaf. So I think it's gonna be a great riparian plant as well. The African mask plant is in testing as well. It's had some dieback. I've lost about 2 leaves, but I am seeing some new roots coming out at the base of the plant. You need to expect houseplants to go through a transition phase when you're putting them in the riparium, because they're going from one environment to a totally different environment. They're being taken out of a soil environment and being placed in water, complete water. So it is going to be a shock to them to some extent. If you remember, I have all of these taller plants in the back planted in a rectangle window box, just a plastic kind of window box planter. And I got half of my hang on the back filter output pouring into my little mini bog system here, is what I call it. And then the other half of the filter is pouring directly into the tank. Well, the problem with this setup I found is I'm completely dependent on that filter working. If the power goes out, or if I go out of town and my hang on back filter dies, then all these plants are just left with no contact with the rest of the tank. So what I'm going to do eventually is take out the window box and just drill holes all through the sides so that the roots can grow out and have direct access to the water, as well as have the water flowing over the top. I think that will go a long way to making it more self-sustaining. Now, the grow light used to have a frame that was holding it up. I had a frame, a leg on the left and the right side with a bar going horizontally, and I decided to take that away because all of these plants are getting so tall, they were getting far beyond the level of the bar. So I just took the bar away and I suspended the grow light from above. It's actually on part of the plant rack up high, and I can adjust it to make it lower or higher as needed. And these are also new, these shades. Now, this is just foam board, like project foam board, and I cut 2 pieces the full length of the ballast, and about, I think it's 6 inches wide, and I used zip ties to attach them together with some space so that I could just fit it directly on top of the ballast. So the top of the ballast is not covered at all, so that way the heat can dissipate that the bulb is generating. So that's been working pretty well to make the lamp more tolerable in the room. Otherwise, it's just bright light with it, being up so high. Something worth mentioning here are the roots of the pothos plant. I have them growing not only in the water, but I'm allowing them to go all the way down and tap into the substrate. So they're able to feed on the nutrients in the substrate as well as nutrients in the water column. So that's like it's getting double the nutrients basically that it otherwise would if it was just growing in the water. And it's noticeable to see when that happens, because the leaves just get much bigger and much more lush. Like, these leaves are older and formed when the roots were just in the water, and you can even tell the coloring is not as green. So then when the roots tap into that substrate, the leaves get bigger, darker green. They're just getting more nitrogen, more nutrients. The vines get thicker and stronger. So that's one thing that I would highly recommend if you're growing pothos. Let those roots get down into the substrate. Well, right now I'm in the middle of setting up a greenhouse where I can set up some container ponds and experiment with growing different house plants in them, as well as pond and other tropical plant species. And this is really going to open up some opportunities for great projects and video content as we go forward. So make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can join me on this adventure known as Plant Life Project. Well, thanks for watching, and remember, it's all about the plants.